Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Seven ways to get unstuck in your business. You might be feeling stuck in your business right now, and it might be something that is off, not your own doing, right? So, if you're feeling stuck in your business right now, it's usually a great time to start self-inquiry, to actually find out, is what you're doing the right thing that you should be doing at that particular time? Because that whole feeling of being stuck can actually be a sign that you're going the wrong direction. Okay, so if you're feeling stuck in your business, this podcast is going to give you 7 ways to finally get unstuck in your business. And each and every one of us understands that getting stuck is something that happens usually all the time. When we're growing up as kids, we want to learn how to walk, we want to learn how to talk, we want to learn how to communicate with other people. Especially when it comes to walking, we're always falling down, or we're always trying to hold on to things so we don't get stuck in the process of actually learning how to walk. So just like anything else in life, there's a learning curve that we have to go through or endure. And half of the time, sometimes we don't have the patience to actually, endure or pay the price that we're supposed to pay in order for us to have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So, I've got a question for you. Like, have you ever experienced a time when you were actually feeling stuck, or maybe frustrated or dissatisfied with the current state of your business? For a lot of people, that's usually all the time. If you are out there calling potential clients and having them hang up in your face, obviously that makes you feel like nobody wants to buy whatever it is that you're selling. Or maybe you're sending out hundreds of emails without even getting as much as, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. Or maybe you've been wasting thousands and thousands of dollars on ad spend and not even generating any qualified leads. That might actually make you feel like you're stuck, because it feels like nobody wants to buy what you're selling, and there you are. You need to put food on the table or pay rent. And when or maybe when you know that something that you're supposed to be doing either needs to change, but you're just not sure how to get about it. That is a feeling of maybe some sort of growth that needs to be happening in your business, and you need to pay attention to that. I mean, we all go through phases like that when we actually feel really stuck. I actually went through one of those phases last week, when I was trying to figure out half of the things that I needed to do for my business, because we're getting into a new year and things of that nature. I mean, you can understand that as an entrepreneur, marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You go from hiring and managing new staff, balancing books, driving growth, and a whole lot more of other things, that need you to constantly balance them, and you're constantly pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And I can understand you as a coach or consultant, your real goal is just to help your clients. You want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems, but it is actually a gift to be able to say, I run a business. So we all go through phases where we feel stuck, and sometimes it's because we're caught up in analysis paralysis. We're trying to figure out the right answer or to do the right thing and to be perfectionists in the process. Other times it's just because we honestly don't even know what to do, what the next move would be. Whenever I get stuck, I usually pick up a book and read, because I'll tell you something, everything that we might be going through in life somebody has written a book about it, somebody has spoken about it on a podcast. So I usually ask myself, what is it exactly that I'm struggling with, and then I usually find a book around that. But maybe you're not the kind of person that reads their way out of a bingo, you know what I mean? And in some cases, you may not even know what to do. But we're too deliberated, by fear as well. Okay, so if you understand that fear is actually the thing that is stopping you dead in your tracks, you might actually be able to get yourself out of whatever funk you might be in. And this becomes a lot more frustrating because by doing nothing, nothing actually changes, because we can't will ourselves to a happier and prosperous business if we're not going to do anything about it. But I want us to be real for a second. Feeling stuck sucks. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's being stuck in your business or in your personal life, it's never a pleasant experience. Like the example I was giving earlier on about a kid who is trying to walk. When they get stuck, they cry. All right? But we're adults. You can't cry if you get stuck, okay? And when you start comparing yourself maybe to other entrepreneurs around you who seem to maybe have it all together, you actually start feeling like everyone is moving forwards and you're still stuck in the same place. And this is why it actually then sucks a whole lot more, because we're now comparing ourselves to other people and we're thinking that we're not doing enough to get us moving. Well, let me tell you, my Internet Explorer friend, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. Okay, and feeling stuck is completely a normal thing, especially if you're in business, because if you're not experiencing all these feelings and emotions, then you're not growing enough, or you're not pushing the envelope enough. You're just staying within your comfort zone. In fact, this is something that I'm actually going through myself right now, like I mentioned earlier on as I'm speaking on this podcast. I'm actually stuck with a few other things. Should I hire more team members? Should I keep going on with the suppliers that I have? All of those things are happening as we currently speak, and I'm going to need answers. And my whole team and all these suppliers are also going to be waiting for answers from me. So I cannot afford to be stuck at any given moment. You know what I mean? So this is why I usually have this fail-safe mechanism where I ask myself a few questions to actually look at exactly what's going on in my life and to really see what is the specific area that I'm feeling stuck, because it's not my whole business. Everything else is working. All right. But it might just be one sector of my business. And that doesn't mean that the whole, business has to come crumbling down just because one, aspect of our business is stuck. So like I'm saying, you're not alone. If anyone is conducting a business or is doing anything with clients and people, they usually would get stuck at some point, because people have different values. People have different beliefs. People have different ways that they want to be, that they show up in the world. Okay. So, and if you've been maybe following me for some time now, you know that I'm very open and transparent when it comes to my business. I literally tell you exactly what's going on, because I use this podcast as a way to actually get clarity on what's happening, either with my client, management, with the clarity of my message, because the more I'm speaking right now, the more it's actually making sense to me what needs to be happening within my business. And I'm very transparent with when it comes to what's happening to me. Why? Because we're all used to reading about all those other people who are winning, all the successes. But personally, I find the most inspiring way of learning is to learn from obstacles, is to learn from what other people are going through, is to learn how other people are going, about figuring out what's happening in their life. And if you really want, a proper business model around whatever it is that you're doing, find out right now, what are you embarrassed and struggling with, that and what are you doing in order for you to actually remedy that thing. You could write a book around that. You could speak a podcast around that. And most people will actually learn from whatever experience you're going through, because we can't experience everything else that we need to be going through in life. Okay. So that's why I want to be, a little bit vulnerable a little bit, you know what I mean, once in a while, so that I can share with you my personal recipes on how I actually get unstuck. When the cogs in my business machine are not running smoothly, because I want you to understand that it to err is human, and when you're actually feeling stuck in your business, there's certain things that you can do to get yourself out of that. But before we dive into this juicy part of this blog, this podcast, I just wanted to encourage you, especially if you're currently feeling stuck or lost or a little bit helpless, and just take a second to acknowledge this feeling, because you once you have things going on in your life, let me tell you what happens. It's the stories that we then tell afterwards that actually make us who we are. So you want to stay present in this stuckness that you are in. Don't try and go and look for a band-aid or some really instant gratification out there, because at the end of the day, if you don't stay present with this suffering, you're not going to be able to help your clients in the future if they do come across the same predicament or problems, and you're not going to be of value to anyone if you don't have a unique story of how you went through certain embarrassing or certain struggles within your business. And you would understand that if you're really passionate about doing the work that you're meant to do, and want to live an inspired life, then obviously you've come to the right place. This episode is going to be letting you know exactly how to deal with being stuck in business, and how you can actually use it as a time for self-inquiry, so that you won't repeat the same mistake, and you won't get stuck at the same level as you've been, stuck all the time. And like I keep saying, my mission is to help, coaches and consultants like you build a brand that they're proud of and create a lifestyle, that you love. And you're not going to do that if you just keep getting stuck over the same problems, in the past. All right. So, like I said, my friend, please, 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 I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with the way that you feel, right now. Like if you feel stuck, that's a good sign, all right? Whether you're just starting in your entrepreneurial journey or you've been in business for years, there comes a moment where you just start questioning pretty much everything, and trust me, this happens to me a couple of months, even a couple of times in a month, even though I've been in business for quite a long time now. You know what I mean? And over this time, I've learned that this period of feeling stuck usually happens, for one of the following reasons. One is usually because there's a change in my business that I didn't prepare for. So maybe we have taken in a new type of client, or we are introducing a new service, or it's just a new challenge that just showed up. Maybe the government has changed the way, they deal with businesses or things of that nature. Or when we went through the pandemic, all right? Or maybe I might be going through a personal life challenge. Some of these may be very numbing to your productivity, especially if you're working from home. You can't get away from it, and some of them start creeping into your business because you need everything around you to be working in unison for you to actually do more, be more, and have more. All right. Or sometimes I get stuck when I put a lot on my plate and I can't handle it all at once. Like a time when I hired about 3 new people, and each and every one of them wanted to be onboarded. Each and every one of them wanted my attention. Things of that nature. Yes, we can handle and deal with new staff members and things of that nature, but not like 3 or 4 all at once that are all needing to, hit the ground running, and they're depending on you, to get that happening for them. All right. So half of the time it might actually be, you're just stuck in a specific area within your business. All right. So you want to think about that specific aspect where you're feeling stuck. And if you had to narrow it down, where do you actually feel most frustrated? What do you wish could actually be changed? Okay. And you would notice that sometimes you're just overworking yourself for too long, and you're not giving yourself time to actually think things through, and you're piling a lot more than you can chew, on your plate. All right. So, this is my Internet Explorer. I mean, obviously, you would understand that people that listen to this episode are called Internet Explorers. We are all looking for a way to get around being unstuck on the internet. All right, as the time I'm speaking on this podcast right now, um there's stuff going on in my business or in my life. There could never be a moment where everything is hunky-dory, okay? And look at this. I'm still showing up here and I'm sharing some value with you. So if I can do this, trust me, you too can. All right. And, like I said, you can literally find ways that you can get unstuck in your business. And I'm confident that, after you listening to this podcast right now, you might think, there's no value that I'm saying. But the fact that I'm sharing stuff with you right now, you could use that as fuel to let you know that you too can have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So like I said, just understand why you're stuck in the very first place, because sometimes you can't see further than where you are right now, and usually people get overwhelmed if they can't see the bigger picture, okay? And you can't sort of get unstuck if you don't know how you got there in the first place, okay? If you don't know how you got yourself lost, you can't retrace your steps back and find out where your starting point was, all right? So the first thing you got to do is just take a piece of paper and maybe a pen and try and figure out what sort of anchors are holding you down. Is it your team? Is it your lead generation? Is it your marketing? Is it your family? What is the thing that is actually making you feel stuck? And, if it is a challenge in your business, then what exactly is that challenge? What is that specific area that you're actually stuck in? And why is it actually preventing you from moving forward? What is it that needs to happen? Is it something that you just need to cut the umbilical cord, or is it something that you actually need to face? Because half of the time we get stuck because we're avoiding to face certain scenarios or circumstances just because we just don't feel like it's the right time for anything. All right. And sometimes we get stuck because we actually don't know what the actual fear is. What's the worst that could actually happen if you just go for it, or if you just fire that person, or if you just hire that person, or if you just sign that contract? What is the worst that could actually happen? And if you're too stressed because maybe you have too much on your plate than you can handle, then what are the potential situations of getting out of it? Can you outsource this work? Can you get somebody to help you? Can you pause, some of the stuff that you keep accepting? What can you do to actually get unstuck? And the action that you need to do in this part for understanding why you're stuck in the first place is, if you identify the anchors, the right things that are actually pulling you down, and if you list them all down and write all the possible solutions that you can get yourself out of this situation, even if it seems crazy right now, just list it out. You might find that you already have the solutions to these problems. You were just putting yourself under stress, for no reason. Okay. And once you actually know that, then, you would actually be able to get out of that funk. The second thing that a lot of people don't actually do is they haven't figured out their priorities. What is it that you most want right now? You want to ask yourself, what is it that you truly most want? And you want to get really specific, all right? Just getting money is not specific. What do you need the money for? Is it money for, salaries? Is it money for tools that you need in your business? Is it money, to pay your tax bill? If you're specific enough, guess what? You will actually find out that, the whole cloud that you're putting around yourself as being stuck is something that you can figure out. Do you know what I mean? And if there are no bounds or limits, what exactly would you want your life to look like in any particular area? And if you can really be specific about the actual thing, guess what? There's people, systems, processes, books, podcasts, videos out there that have answers to all those problems. But if you are not even clear about the very thing that is pulling you down, it's going to be difficult for you to actually figure it out. So you want to figure out your priorities, because as an entrepreneur, you probably have a never ending to do list. You know what I mean? And then this is when things get messy and a little bit out of balance. You're no longer valuable to the people that you're delivering a service to. You're no longer valuable to your team. You're no longer valuable even to your family or your loved ones, because you've got a never ending to do list. And it's more important than ever to actually be clear on what needs to be done, because half of the time you might have a to-do list that talks about looking at your emails, but you're waiting for the emails to come in instead of you actually helping your daughter with her mathematics homework. You know what I mean? Things like that. What are the priorities? When do you need to get things done by, so that you can actually sort out the rest of your life? And after you've identified whatever anchors that I spoke about earlier, think about which of these anchors you want to focus on lifting first, because the ones that are the heaviest are the ones that will actually sink you. All right, so to do this, you need to ask yourself, where should you be focusing your energy? And obviously you can't solve all the problems, or you can't untie all the knots all at once, but you can do it over time, and you can focus on one problem at a time. Because if you focus on everything all at the same time, obviously you get overwhelmed. Okay, I mean, have you ever tried to untie a bunch of necklaces that have been tied together, or not even necklaces? Yesterday I was trying to untangle, earphones, headphones that were tied up together. The ones with the codes. Yes, I'm still old school. You're probably rolling your eyes right now. There was a lot of cables that I needed to go through. It's very difficult to untangle things that have been tangled for a while. And I truly hate it when that happens, especially if it's one of my girls that has done that. But, when I get impatient, which is like, when things are not working in my space, I start pulling out all the cords, and then there's a risk that I might actually break them. And guess what happens? Sometimes you can even tie them into a tighter knot, and that even adds more to the frustration. So this is why you have to actually slow down and focus on each wire one by one until you've untied them all. And the same goes with your business. All right, if you try and fix everything all at once and just put them all in one pot, you're gonna have a horrible soup. All right, so what's the action step on you figuring out your priorities? Just focus on untangling one thing at a time and commit to finishing it before you move on to the next thing. Because once why you want this, once you know why it's important to you, it's easier for you to actually prioritize the things that you need to be doing at any given moment. So why do you want this? Imagine actually receiving and experiencing the change you most want to see. What would this change allow you to be, do, and have? So why do you actually want this? Why do you want these cables untangled? How do you want to feel? We all have imagined, feelings that new things or new experiences or new people or new clients will bring us, when we think about it. But if you got what you wanted, do you feel as you expected? How many times have you actually bought stuff and, it's just sitting in your office there? You haven't even opened it, but you just wanted the feeling of having opened up or having bought something. I do that with software sometimes. I see a software, that I feel like I'm going to need, and it's just sitting in my computer gathering digital dust. One thing you might need to do is declutter. Just declutter. One thing you hear me telling my digital marketing clients all the time is less is more. Do you know what I mean? It couldn't be truer when it comes to your business as well. Most of us are more productive when we work in a clean, airy environment, but we often forget about all the virtual mess and clutters that are also cluttering in our businesses, right? That's why every once in a while, you should have a declutter day where you clear out your desktop from all the screenshots and random images and files that you might have picked up along the way. Even do that for your phone. Ensure that your Google Drive is organized. Reorganize your Trello boards, reorganize your Slack, reorganize every communication that you have with your team. You want to review your client onboarding and offboarding processes just to see if you're doing everything and you're actually being empathetic enough to understand that your clients are new to all of this and you are already working within your business all this time. And there's one other thing that I usually do, just unsubscribing to unrelated newsletters. Sometimes, yes, you might subscribe to something, but it starts losing its focus. All right. Half of the time we have all this clutter around us and we don't know what is actually, getting us stuck because we've got so many of these influences. And, they say an idle mind is sort of the devil's workshop. If you're stuck and you're not doing anything, guess what? Anyone can come with their ideas, their philosophies and throw them at you. And you will, follow them through because you are not standing for anything. If you don't stand for anything, you fall for whatever. So you want to review all the app subscriptions that you have, and you actually want to see if you're still, worth paying for them, because then that could actually ease up your cash flow, and you might actually be stuck, with where to get your next money or with your, money to pay for certain things, and maybe your money is caught up in apps that you don't even need. And the list goes on. So the action step for this part is to just make space in your business, especially if it's virtual. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, we have, the cloud that's just holding all our data, so that you just don't fill it up with things that don't truly matter and help you progress any further. Most of these things are actually standing in your way. Because now that you've got a clear picture of what it is that you want, it's time to really get honest with yourself. What do you see as obstacles? Sometimes the obstacles are things that we think we need when we actually don't need them. So you want to list them all, and both external and internal. And you might actually be holding on to things just because of beliefs of when you were at a certain part, of your life. This is where you also need to declutter some beliefs that are holding you back. What are you believing to be true? Because so often we get stuck in our own beliefs and assumptions as well. What are you believing to be 100%, true when it actually isn't? How can you actually challenge your current beliefs so that you move forward? Because we are stuck in who we thought we were supposed to be at a time when we started our business, but things have changed. Technology has changed. You could be stuck doing all the work within your business when you could actually just outsource. Back in the time, yes, that you used to have a badge of honor for being the person that's doing all the work. But these days, it's just a sign of you not being organized. And speaking of which, you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. So you want to make time for your business. Because when you've got your priority clearly laid out, and you've made room in your business, you've decluttered and everything else, you can actually start, lifting all the anchors that are holding you down. But wait, how are you supposed to find time to do that and also run your business, your family, your life? You got to start making time for it. I mean, think of it. When you book time in your calendar, or to have a client to work with you, or to finish a client project, or to attend a meeting, don't you commit to it? Of course you do. So tell me, why can you do the same for your business? So whether it's one afternoon per week, or where you do like I do, where I sit down and I record my podcast every single day at 12 p.m. because it's scheduled, and I focus on that because this is the way that I'm growing my business, and I truly commit to this. And I want you to do that so you can truly commit, to your business and make it a recurring event. Right now, if 12 o'clock shows up and I haven't done my podcast, I start twiddling my thumbs. I feel like something is missing. So you need to find time for your own business. And this is something that I usually, I used to personally struggle with. But I realized that when I started treating my business as a project, I actually approach it with the same care and respect that I do other people's businesses. Then I'm much more focused on what I'm supposed to be doing and also making progress. And I encourage you to do the same. So make it a habit to book in your calendar for the tasks and activities related to your business. Don't just go out there growing other people's businesses. Grow yours as well and keep on moving forward. I mean, if you dig deeper into the psychology of maybe getting stuck in your business, you find out the most common factor, around this is fear. Right? There's fear of failure, fear of success, fear of challenges, fear of something new, fear of letting somebody or yourself down, or you name it. It's just fear, all to start off with. And fear slows us down. It paralyzes us. It makes us second guess all our decisions. So we end up spending hours and hours on research, trying to get as much feedback as possible, and ensure that we're making the right decision. But in reality, I want to tell you something. We're just buying ourselves time because we're afraid of what the next step is supposed to be. And don't get me wrong, you should absolutely educate yourself and do your due diligence, right? But in most cases, when you're feeling stuck, I highly recommend that you stop second guessing yourself and just focus on moving forward. I'll tell you something. A year ago, I spent over 8 months just working on my website because I wasn't committing to it fully, and I spent way too much, looking for inspiration. And one day, my wife just came and told me, she's like, babe, in this instance, you just need to focus on done over perfect. Think of how much potential clients you've missed because you haven't launched the site yet. And, she was obviously, I would say annoyingly, but right. I read this really cool quote somewhere, that you decide what fear means to you. Either you forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. All right? So just make a choice. What fear stands in your eyes, my friend. So there you have it. I've given you my personal plan on how to actually get unstuck in your biz. While it's not like a quick solution, it's a way for you to actually look at your life and your business from a different perspective and just face it head on, Because let's be honest, you didn't start this business knowing what it would look like exactly and that it was going to be easy. You did it because you knew it would be worth, every moment of it. And, it will be worth it for the life that you can build for yourself, for your loved ones, and the people that you want to serve, right? You've got this. I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing with this information, all right? And if you found value in this podcast, I'll be so grateful if you would share this with maybe a fellow entrepreneur who could also use some support in their life right now. Yeah, we're all in this together, right? Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au